Ladies and gentlemen, what if I told you that Ilhan Omar, yes, that Ilhan Omar, the same congresswoman who spent years calling Donald J. Trump a threat to democracy, just stood up in front of a room full of smug European diplomats and defended President Trump. And I'm not kidding, guys. This is not satire. This is not a parody headline. It actually happened, and the reaction was priceless, folks. The moment was so shocking that even the members of her own delegation couldn't believe what they heard. When a Belgian official tried to mock America, saying our Congress was a joke, saying our president didn't respect us, Ilhan Omar turned to him and said, "You might not like what our president is doing. You might not agree with our foreign policy, but when we are here, you will respect our president." Hell just froze over, guys. And that single line right there, spoken by one of President Trump's most relentless critics, completely flipped the narrative. It silenced the European elites, embarrassed the globalists, and it exposed just how fake the so-called resistance has always been. Because when the cameras are off and the propaganda fades, even the left knows the truth. Trump commands respect. Abroad, he's not a punchline. He is the power broker. And Ilhan Omar just proved it. So buckle up, guys, because in today's video, I'm going to break down exactly what just happened on that trip to Europe, why this moment is exploding across social media, and how this proves that President Trump's leadership is reshaping the world one stunned liberal at a time. Hit the like button and subscribe, folks. This is one of those moments that you almost have to kind of like replay twice just to believe it. So during a congressional trip to Brussels, yes, Brussels, the beating heart of global bureaucracy, the unthinkable happened. Ilhan Omar, one of Trump's most vocal enemies, stood up in a European conference hall and told a foreign official to respect President Trump. Now, take a second, guys. Let that sink in. The very same woman who spent years screaming about fascism, impeachment, and resistance suddenly became the voice of American unity. You could have heard a pin drop in that room, guys. These smug European bureaucrats, they thought that they would humiliate the U.S. delegation. They would mock the same president who rebuilt the American economy, restored energy dominance, and forced NATO to finally pay their fair share. But instead of applause from the globalist peanut gallery, what they really got was a Democrat, Ilhan Omar, echoing President Trump's own America First message. Now, this wasn't a slip of the tongue. It was instinct. Patriotism through party programming. Because when you leave the DC echo chamber and actually step onto the world stage, the reality hits you. Donald J. Trump is respected. And even his harshest critics know it when they see it. I mean, you can't argue it. And so now, how do we know that this story is real? Well, Congresswoman Anna Paulina Luna, she was there. And she told the whole story herself. The delegation, part of the House Democracy Partnership Institute, was meeting with European lawmakers when a Belgian member started running his mouth. He told them, quote, "Your Congress isn't respected by your own president." Typical elitist arrogance, right? The same EU attitude that Trump has battled since his very first term, belittling America while cashing our defense checks. Now, Luna said she pushed back, but what shocked her and what shocked everybody else was Ilhan Omar jumping in. Sitting 2 seats away, Ilhan Omar leaned forward and said, "You might not like what our president is doing, and you might not agree with our foreign policy, but when we're here, you will respect our president." The room went silent. Luna said it blew her away, folks. Now think about that, okay? A progressive firebrand defending Trump overseas. Meanwhile, the world is watching all of this. This wasn't just unity. This was a crack in the left's carefully scripted anti-Trump act. Can you imagine if Ilhan Omar wanted to leave the Democratic Party and join the MAGA movement and become a conservative? I mean, would anything shock you at this point? Anyway, it happened right as President Trump was pressuring the EU to pay more into NATO and secure its own borders. Timing? Absolutely perfect. Now, this story isn't just about Ilhan Omar's words. It is about what those words represent, okay? So after nearly a decade of nonstop media attacks, investigations, indictments, and smear campaigns, even Trump's most committed critics are starting to admit what the rest of the world already knows. Donald J. Trump gets results. Now, here's the irony, okay, guys? The irony is that the very people who once called him a global embarrassment are now defending him on foreign soil. Why? Because they see the difference between propaganda and performance. In 2025, America is leading again. The dollar is strong, inflation is cooling, and Europe, yes, that same Europe that mocked Trump, is being forced to negotiate from a position of weakness. They depend on U.S. energy exports, U.S. defense systems, and U.S. trade access. So when Omar stood up and said, "Respect our president," she wasn't just defending Trump. She was acknowledging reality. It was a symbolic surrender. Even the opposition knows Trump's leadership commands respect. That's what vindication looks like. And folks, it's not coming from Fox News or conservative pundits. It's coming from the very people who swore that they would never say it. Now, here's a rough truth. Your Medicare plan might not be as solid as you think it is, but most people usually only find out the hard way. This is why I partnered with Chapter. They give people a Medicare reality check before it's too late. Now, one of our viewers said, Chapter showed me the gaps in my Medicare plan and fixed them fast. So let me ask, do you really want to get hit later? Or do you want to do what most people already are and getting clarity now? And most people are dialing the phone number right there at the bottom of your screen, or they're visiting askchapter.org/Ron. That phone number again is 909-563-8279. Oh, and don't take my word for it. Here's what some of you have said right here in the comments. Jan said, Chapter is the best for Social Security. I will not use anyone else. And Lewis Lyon said, thank you, Ron. Chapter found me a better plan, and thank you, Chapter. Now, I want to talk about these European elites just for a second, okay? Now, for years, they've looked down their noses at the United States, lecturing us about democracy and values while their own economies are crumbling and their borders collapse. They love to call Trump a populist, but maybe that's because he actually represents the people instead of unelected bureaucrats. Now, the EU can't even keep its own lights on without America. They can't. They rely on U.S. natural gas after cutting off Russian pipelines. They rely on American defense through NATO. They rely on American consumers to buy their exports and stuff. So yet somehow they act like they're the moral authority of the world. Trump called them out from day one. He told them to pay their freaking fair share, to stop freeloading, to take care of their own citizens, and they mocked him for it. But now, as their economy shrink and Trump's America thrives, these smirks have turned to silence. So when Ilhan Omar, of all people, told them to respect our president, it was the final slap of reality. Now, Europe's superiority complex just got met with its limit. Trump didn't even have to be in the room to win. That's what was so powerful. This wasn't just another viral clip. This was a fracture in the left's entire narrative. For years, Democrats have repeated one line like a broken record. The world laughs at Trump. That's what they said. This has been their political comfort blanket since 2016. But what happens when one of their own, Ilhan Omar, of all people, goes abroad and defends the president of the United States, President Donald Trump, and demands that Europe respects the same man that they've spent years demonizing? It exposes everything. It shows the world that the left's anti-Trump hysteria has always been a performance, a political costume worn for domestic applause, not global reality. So when the cameras are off, the truth leaks out. They already know Trump's policies work. They know his leadership carries weight. They just can't admit it back home without losing power. This moment matters because it wasn't calculated. It was instinctual. Omar wasn't reading a teleprompter or rehearsing some party lines. She saw her country being mocked, and her inner American rose up finally. So for the first time, she sounded like the people that she spent her career opposing. And that right there, guys, right there is why this story broke the internet, because truth slipped through the cracks of political theater. Now, you already knew it was coming. The meltdown, the moment that this story hit the airwaves, legacy media, they couldn't handle it. CNN hosts, they went red in the face. MSNBC anchors scrambled to clarify the context, and blue check activists on X started twisting themselves into pretzels. Ilhan Omar didn't really mean it. She was misquoted. She was taken out of context. Yeah, sure there, Bob, right? That's what they always say when reality doesn't fit the script. Meanwhile, conservative media exploded with laughter, but not because it was political, but because it was poetic. For once, a Democrat defended America instead of apologizing for it. That right there is what broke the internet. That is why the clip went viral across every corner of social media. Now, here's a real kicker, guys. Instead of owning the unity moment, the left attacked her for it. Imagine that. Ilhan Omar finally defends the United States on foreign soil, and her own base turns on her. This is the perfect example of what Trump's been saying for years. The modern left doesn't want a strong America. They want control. And when someone breaks from that script, even accidentally, they lose their ever-loving mind. So this whole exchange peeled back the mask on Europe's hypocrisy. For years, these EU officials have wagged their fingers at America, lecturing us about tolerance and climate goals and shared values. Meanwhile, their own house burns. They call Trump a threat to democracy, yet their entire system is run by unelected bureaucrats in Brussels. They brag about free speech while citizens get arrested for social media posts. They accuse Trump of nationalism while clinging to U.S. military protection like a lifeline. Omar's outburst shattered that smug illusion. Her words were like a mirror, forcing those European officials to confront how ridiculous it looks to insult the leader of the same country that's defending their borders and subsidizing their own defenses. This was the moment America stopped apologizing, even from the left. Now, Trump's second term has made that confidence contagious. When Omar said, "You will respect our president," she wasn't just talking to that Belgian diplomat. No, she was actually talking to the entire global elite who still can't accept that America first won. And deep down, they know it. They know that their power is fading. They just got told off by one of their own supposed allies. Now, if one sentence could kill a movement, this might have been it. The resistance, guys, that self-righteous hashtag-fueled crusade against Trump, it's crumbling under the weight of reality. Under his 2025 presidency, the country isn't collapsing. It's thriving. Unemployment's down. Inflation has cooled. Energy independence is back. Manufacturing plants are reopening. Even the stock market, the Dow Jones, NASDAQ, S&P 500, written off by liberal economists as doomed under Trump, is breaking records today. Meanwhile, the left keeps acting like it's still 2017, screaming dictator, while cashing in on booming economies. This is why Ilhan Omar's words hit so hard, because they cut through the theater, guys. She exposed what everybody already knew but refused to admit. The resistance was never about truth. It was about power from day one. When Omar told Europe to respect our president, she killed the illusion that Trump was a pariah. She reminded the world that patriotism still beats party loyalty. And once that mask slips, there's no putting it back on. The resistance died the very moment one of its generals saluted the very man that they swore to destroy. And history will remember that. Now, every headline, every trade deal, every diplomatic standoff in 2025 proves one very simple truth. Europe mocked it, China feared it, the media called it reckless, but Trump's America First foreign policy works. So look around. The numbers don't lie. The U.S. economy is outpacing the EU and Asia combined. The NATO countries are finally paying what they owe. Energy prices in America have stabilized while Europe faces shortages again this winter, and every major foreign leader, even the ones who spent years criticizing Trump, now takes his calls because they know he delivers results. This is why Ilhan Omar's defense hit like a thunderclap. It wasn't just one congresswoman flipping the script on him. It was the ultimate validation of Trump's global dominance. I mean, even his rivals recognize that when President Trump speaks, the world listens. That's the paradox driving the left insane. They cannot deny the success, so they pretend that it doesn't exist. But facts don't bend the feelings, right? They don't bend to feelings, and clearly Ilhan Omar let her guard down. Her feelings took over. President Trump promised to restore respect for America, and now even his fiercest critics are enforcing it abroad. This is not politics. This is power. And so what does all this mean? It means something bigger than Ilhan Omar, bigger than the party lines. It means that the world is remembering who leads here. For the first time in years, the American flag doesn't just fly, it commands. It represents a nation that stopped apologizing for its greatness and started leading again. And when even Ilhan Omar says respect our president, you already know that leadership is returned. Guys, if you don't take anything else from this video, that one moment overseas captured everything that Trump's presidency stands for. Strength, accountability, pride in country over politics. Europe can lecture all they want. The media can spin, the left can panic, but the truth is simple. The world respects America again, finally. And that's not arrogance, that is reality. And it's spreading, because when even the loudest voices of opposition are forced to admit the obvious, it's no longer opinion, it's proof. The era of weakness is over. The era of strength is back. And President Donald J. Trump is leading the charge. Like, subscribe, share this everywhere, and never forget who's really in control now. The world just got reminded America First isn't a slogan, it's a warning.